All right, everybody, we're going to get our next panel started. Our next panel is titled Bridging Web3 and AI. And we have Calanthia Mei, who is a co-founder of Masa. And we have a quick swap at the last minute. So we have Rakshak from Morpheus joining us, Himanshu Tyagi, who is a core contributor at Sentient. And this panel will be moderated by Christoph Niemann, who is a senior blockchain solutions architect at AWS. Welcome.
All right. Hello, everyone. As you might notice, it's not Neda there. It's Rakesh from Morpheus. Neda couldn't make it. That's why we have Rakesh happily fill in for us. This panel is about bridging Web3 and AI, which is obviously two very broad topics. Kind of hard to, I don't know, put it into 30 minutes altogether. So what we want to do is really try to cover both perspectives, if you will. Where can Web3 benefit from AI and the other way around? Where could possibly AI benefit from Web3? I'm Christoph, I'm from AWS. I'm a specialist for Web3. What that means is basically I'm helping customers using that are building on Web3 using AWS services. So if you want to, feel free to hit me up later on. With that, I'm going to give the room to each one of you to do a quick introduction. And then possibly we can just start with the first broad topic. Where do you see can AI benefit from Web3? Starting with a more complicated one, I think. I'll start with you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Himanshu Tyagi. I'm one of the co-founders for Sentient. Sentient, we are building community-built competitor to Open AI. So good old AI, but built with community contributions.
Hi guys, my name is Rakshak, and I'm helping with Morpheus. I have a background in AI. I've been involved in it for 10 years, mostly in computer vision. And I'm helping Morpheus realize its full mission, which is to have everyone participate in being able to produce models, deliver model computation, and consume models in a decentralized way where we all retain sovereignty of these systems. Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Calanthia. I'm co-founder of Masa. Masa is a decentralized AI network where people earn by contributing data. Data in our minds is the currency of the future, especially in the AI era. It is one of the most valuable commodity that is required for AI model training and AI agent training. That's the reason why we decided to focus on it. Excited to be here today and super excited to share.
So very interesting. Maybe I'll start with you, Calanthia. All three of you are working in decentralized AI. The very obvious question is, normally LLM models, if they're trained, need lots and lots of compute, which kind of lends itself to centralized compute capabilities. So why would you think decentralized AI brings a benefit to the table?
Yeah, I'll probably give a very concrete example. Let's say if we want to train an AI agent that speaks and thinks like Sam Altman, right? So you would need to grab different kind of data sources. Ideally, you would want to have all the Twitter footprint, all the podcasts Sam Altman has been on, all the TikToks, hopefully nothing, but any of the TikToks that Sam Altman was featured on, and anything that is within his digital footprint territory. If you were to train it in a more centralized AI way, you'll have to pay for very expensive API access to Twitter developer API. You'll probably pay around $40K per month for enterprise version if you don't want to have severe rate limits. You want to pay a lot of money for TikTok data, and for some podcast data, you don't even have a very direct way of getting podcast data into more diarized structured data for AI agent training. At Masa, we help you solve that problem. We have a very decentralized network of node workers and validators, whereby they set up different kind of data scrapers, contribute their bandwidth and resources, and prepare those data into real-time, structured, and high-quality data for AI training. So One is possible in the decentralized AI world. One is impossible currently, or very expensive in the centralized AI world.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd like to segue off her point. That's a great point. Here's the thing: the dirty secret is that we all train these systems. You know, all the reviews were written, all the blog posts were written, all the comments were written online. Open AI or Google, none of them actually generated that data. And so we are already doing this in a decentralized way on the data production side. These are labeled by people, workforces all over the world. And in terms of where Morpheus is involved, we have a really bad chip shortage right now. We have 12, 18, 24-month lead times on getting sufficient amount of GPU capacity. But guess what? There's 400 million GPUs sitting in desktops and people's gaming rigs all over the world. And bringing those online is inherently a decentralized effort. It is a cross-border payment system empowered effort. So I think decentralization is actually the next paradigm. We had cloud before this, and now it's decentralization.
So what you're saying is basically both data should be decentralized as well as the actual compute.
Data is already decentralized. We already won that by default. And on the computation side, we can start with inference because there's going to be a sufficient amount of people that can run a model on 1 or 2 graphics cards that they have on their gaming rig. Mm-hmm. And we think that over time, you're going to have people build more impressive rigs the way they did for Bitcoin mining. They started with mining on their CPU on their laptop, and then they got more performant compute because they were incentivized. And Morpheus is enabling that incentivization to get people compensated for putting their compute online to run AI models in a decentralized fashion. And it has some really inherent positives because the person who's serving inference for you could be in the apartment next door. They could be a block down the street from you. And you're actually going to see better latencies with that as we scale out.
But then you did mention Bitcoin, and it seems to me like that might be a good example because, of course, the Bitcoin network in general is decentralized. But what we see with the mining capacity is that there is an inherent trend to centralize the actual mining capacity just because the resource requirements are so damn high that you need that specialized equipment.
So with Bitcoin and other these payment technologies, there's a higher tolerance to latency. You can wait tens of seconds, even minutes. In AI, when you want really fast inference response times to enable applications, people would never use something like Google Maps if it took 5 minutes to get a response. So you want it to reroute instantly. And to get something like that to work instantly when the computation is occurring at over billions of floating point operations per second, you want that to be really close by you. You want it to be on-premise. You want it to be on-device. And what we're seeing is Apple already saw this coming. So the M2 chip that came out 2 years ago, in the hardware, there's a transformer optimization. We need to unlock the software pieces. But we're seeing the bedrock of this next paradigm shift of edge compute, local compute, and decentralized compute already building up. Because for AI to work well, you need a lot of throughput. And you need that to happen instantly so that the human can't perceive that it's occurring. And so I think cloud is inherently doomed in that sense because of the massive latency penalty that you can't collapse entirely.
Yeah, your take?
No, what she said. So everything is already covered. But we should think about what we mean by decentralized AI here. It's sort of a brand name or a meme. But some parts of it I quite agree with. For example, the part about personalized data and how that can be used to keep AI which is personalized and with separate people. Many projects like that I agree with. Doing inference on decentralized compute the way Apple is doing, makes sense. I think projects have to find what they will do there, but it makes sense completely. People will be using AI on their phones. They are using AI on their phones and personal devices. All that makes sense. Decentralized training, unless the type of models we are working with changes, I don't see how that happens because the latencies will dominate. Even in the inference side, decentralized inference, if these are applications which are critical for latency, then I don't see how that happens. So there are a lot of challenges, and I'm not completely convinced that decentralized training kind of things will pick up. But data, I think people would want to work on their data, on their personal devices. They want their different types of AI to be doing their scheduling for them. All that will come in.
Which would then help with personalized models as well. If you're saying, I need this private data into my models that no one else can have access to?
Personalized models, personalized AI, not necessarily personalized models, but yeah, some kind of personalized models. I don't. Before crypto, I worked a lot in federated learning, and we try to do a lot of things. But at the end, what worked out in federated learning is just training your personalized model on your personalized data. Those kind of things have been going on forever, and they will continue. For example, the way Google handles your optimization of your photo library, right? That's federated learning going on forever, and the natural continuation of that to language models will come up. I understand that, yeah. So personalized models, yeah, that will continue.
Yeah. Were you going to say
I was
something?
thinking about some personalized AI agent because that's one of the most popular use cases we're seeing on the Masa network. Probably just to share a fun fact, I know it's late afternoon and people want to hear some fun facts to perk up. So loneliness is one of the biggest problems of the generation of late millennial and Gen Z. And if you look at a lot of popular social applications nowadays, whether it's in Web2 AI or Web3 AI, a lot of them center around the idea of AI companion. It could be an AI boyfriend, AI girlfriend, could be your AI assistant, could be your AI digital twin, could be your AI guardian angel, etc. How cool would that be if you had that AI agent to be trained specifically on your digital footprint? That way, your AI agent probably knows you better than you do. I certainly want one of those for myself.
I'm not sure if I want to go into that, but you really? So I see that use case. It's obviously very personalized. There are a lot of moral implications to that. We probably can't cover them here. But it is interesting that, and obviously there's demand for it. So now, you were saying decentralized training is something that you think is possible. How so? I mean, the latency requirements are still there, right?
Yeah, so I think when people hear decentralized inference or training, they mix it up with distributed training and inference, and those are very different things. You could do both. You could do one and not the other. They're separate things. You have to make two different decisions there. So what I see is an SSI model. It's called single state image model, where a model must be loaded onto a single computer. That computer may have multiple graphics cards attached to it, but there's really low latency in the NV link between those cards. Not you run half of the model on one guy's computer, another half on another gal's computer down the street. That's a really bad thing, and that would be distributed. And so what I'm foreseeing, and we'll see how, if time proves this right or wrong, is you're going to see people who run a single model for inference. You can do that with a single card if you're running like a 8B Llama 3 8B, which is the most powerful model right now that's open source. And these people are going to build more impressive rigs over time as they're getting incentivized and they're getting compensated for offering inference. And they're going to say, hey, how can I make more money? Well, I'm going to go put more compute in whatever facility I have, whether it's my home or if it's a storage facility or if it's a warehouse. I'm going to go put more compute up, just like it happened with the mining for Ethereum when it's proof of work or for Bitcoin when it's proof of work. And then you're going to have people that have hundreds of cards attached to a single computer or a really high, low latency cluster, and they're going to say, hey, I actually now have the capacity to load an entire model and train it because I built up to that point and I was compensated up to that point. So this is just a matter of time and having the incentive structure built out, and Web3 is perfect for the railings on that. And that's actually what got me in. I'm not from Web3. I have an AI background, and I saw this as the only way to make this work.
I'm still not sure if I agree, to be honest.
Sure.
So, if
You shouldn't agree to it, right?
I should not.
Yeah, you're from AWS. You have to say
that's
that.
right.
You have to say that.
He is from AWS, so.
No, but what I wanted to bring as an example, again, Bitcoin mining was in the early days possible to do on your laptop somewhere at home,
Sure.
or even on some sort of sophisticated hardware that you spun up at home. Nowadays, it just isn't because the compute requirements are way too high for that. With other blockchains, proof of stake, it's still possible, but there aren't any compute requirements to it. It's just, well, it's monetary requirements, of course. But then with for training, we have these high compute requirements. We need specialized GPU resources and lots of them. So I don't really see how that's going to happen, even if you're building at home and having this whatever kind of rig with lots and lots of graphics.
I love the word you just said there, specialization. I love that word. Here's why. Bitcoin became over-concentrated after the advent of ASICs, right? What is an ASIC? An ASIC is a chip that can only do one thing, okay? So it can only do this Bitcoin hashing function. It can't tell you the weather. It can't open your calendar. It can't do anything else, right? Well, for AI, you need general purpose chips because you're doing a whole host of computations that can change over time. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't build a chip for one model. You would build, there's a company called Grok, and they discovered this already. And so what they did is they built a translation system to SRAM, and they can adapt to anything. And the reason why that concentration happened in Bitcoin is because, well, there was no one else who would buy a chip for anything else, right, for these ASICs. So I think when you think about AI, it's a different type of computation entirely, and we're using GPUs. And even if we use something like Grok that's more commoditized, I just don't see that level of concentration occurring in a way that would only benefit a few parties. We might have, a much larger distributed force of compute, and you don't need to deal with like the energy and cooling costs in the same way when it's spread out. And so I think there's some inherent value there.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Maybe I do agree to some.
Well, the thing is, we don't fully know, and we're taking our bets, right? We have Morpheus, and we think that the decentralized vision is the future. And at least at a technical level, when you're building out the fundamental primitives for these things, we've seen things like with Linux and Android that the open standards tend to dominate. And AWS has also been great at adopting these open standards too. I mean, there's been partnerships with a lot of open source companies for a reason, because you get more diversification there. And in AI, and anytime when you're new in an industry, you want high diversification to get all the vantage points in, right?
I want to shift gears a bit, turn the whole thing around. For now, we have been talking about how AI can profit from Web3 ideas, basically data sovereignty, data isolation, private data, these incentive mechanisms as well, probably. How do you pay for contributing your hardware or your resources, your data to the AI model? I want to turn it around a bit and ask, is there anything where Web3 can actually benefit from AI? Basically asking for use cases that you've seen, and which ones do you foresee? Because you did mention the personal assistant already, which is not really Web3 related. So focusing on the ones that are Web3 related and helping us there, if you will. Do you want to start?
No, I don't want to start.
You don't?
No, Web3 benefiting from AI. I think it's the things we see are, there's a few patterns there and they're exciting, like how these agents will build and they will express intent, mostly around intent. And then also things around safety, auditing. The concern I see in those spaces is the accuracy that's typically required for something so specific. And so I'm not sure which one will pick up first. But for me, actually, I would love to have this agents who can execute things based on my intent. And that's the space, at least I like. That's a very cute space. We all saw what happened in prediction market, and getting AI layer there is very interesting, getting more data mined on it and getting things from that side. So there can be these kind of threads. There can be more intent-based threads where Web3 can benefit from AI. AI basically becomes a universal interface. It's not just about Web3. When I'm talking about these use cases, there's not so much Web3 in it as just having this interface, which has changed how I talk to all software, including Web3. And it has to be specialized for all the software, so there will be definitely a vertical for specializing for Web3. That's a no-brainer. Whether it can go beyond, and if there's something deeper, like companies trying to do security audits, for example, using agents. That's interesting because these structures have been able to show efficiency in capturing information which has not been there before. So maybe they can also do the search very efficiently. What's happening on RL, maybe they can do something very efficiently there, and therefore they can bring in new kind of much more accurate security audits. That's possible, but harder.
Yeah. Any one of you?
Sure. I think I already mentioned earlier a more social use case, the fun AI boyfriend, AI girlfriend. Another very fun use case of how AI can help with crypto is really financial. Presumably, we have a lot of investors in the crowd here. Imagine if you have an AI agent who can tell you how low Bitcoin could go a couple of days ago. Wouldn't that be nice? So financial use cases is one of the most popular use case we're seeing on the Masa network, using a lot of social sentiment data in order to predict trading behaviors and predict market trends. That's definitely one area where AI can help with the crypto market, especially on the trading side.
Yeah, so if you want an agent to, so to answer your question, to make it easier, I think Web3 is hitting a wall in adoption because it's complicated. And so one thing that agents can do is, like what he mentioned, is being this natural interface where anyone can talk to it and get the outcome that they want. So the cool thing is you can already do this. If you go on mor.org, we have an agent it's an early test version. You can say, hey, I want to swap this for that, and it'll construct a transaction. And you mentioned accuracy concerns, and I completely agree. Agents right now are not 100% accurate. And so one of the steps we've taken for now is it just generates the transaction for you, and you can sign it, and you can review it. It never has your keys, right? Don't give agents your keys, guys. Seriously, it doesn't have your keys. It can't execute it even if it wanted to. But at least it got you to that last point where you can say yes or no. And fundamentally, when you hire someone, whether it's to fix your dishwasher or to help you write a report, that's what you want. You want the outcome, and you want to just verify that that's what you wanted, and you go ahead with it, right? But they take care of all of the nitty-gritty in a black box for you. And I think that's what these agents are going to do. First, they're going to be tools that just make you work faster. But over time, they're going to be like colleagues. And what I see is these agents are going to go past that, and they're going to help not just be trained, but to actually train you and the workforce. And so I think there's a lot of a positive upside there.
Well, coming to the agents or the AI training you, one thing that I see is obviously development experience. If you are developing, that's where AI can help you by a whole lot. And it is particularly so in Web3. Anything blockchain related requires very specialized skills, specialized programming languages, and it's easy enough to fall into various traps that they lay out for you. And I agree, AI can help with that. And in turn, of course, train the actual developer in not making that mistake again. So there is some overlap, I think. Yeah. But then, now we did cover development experience and of course anything financial related. And that's always the first thing that comes to mind because blockchains seem to be or are very, very good at it. We have very new financial mechanisms and stuff that only are possible on blockchain. If you go any deeper, do you see anything else where it could help? Something like, again, I don't know, analyzing data, blockchain data itself instead of just sort of social sentiments, like you said, for trading? I mean, just one last sentence. One thing that we have with blockchains is, of course, we have all this transparent data. So we could start training AI on that blockchain data. Do you see any benefits from that?
This one I can start with.
Yeah, you're welcome.
No, so you bring out a very good point, but that's a very hard problem. Can there be so-called a foundation model for all the blockchain data?
Yes.
Because this data is very structured. But this is a very different model. This is basically a model which can handle time series, and this can handle that kind of data. You see its financial capability will be very high. And whatever I see in this space so far is not really a single model, because a single model is, the magic of foundation model is that don't solve the individual problems. Very counterintuitive, very counterintuitive. For decades, we have been solving individual problems. And it turns out the better idea is to solve something which is not specialized for any of them, but it solves all of them together. Yeah. And very counterintuitive, something similar. So you will have 10,000 problems which you want to solve in terms of prediction on chain. And all this knowledge is available. Just to think of just Ethereum data. What general intuition can we build out of it, and what will that foundation model look like? And that will be a challenging problem. The projects and the efforts I see so far are actually solving individual problem and calling the union of it as a foundation model, which is not at all a foundation model, actually. That's the old approach. It has to be this generalization across tasks. Yeah, looking forward to any breakthrough like that.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, that's a great point. There is no single model. He's right. There's no single model that can do everything. This is proven in physics. It's called the no free lunch theorem. There never will be a single model that does everything. Sorry for the spoiler. But what we can do is have it augment or even automate process of EDA, which is called exploratory data analysis. So you would have statisticians turned ML engineers for over 2 decades now that have been doing this, and they look at data and they analyze which features or which parts of the inputs are going to contribute to an outcome that I care about. And so what you can do is you can basically augment, speed up, or even automate that part of it. Right? So you have an agent, and all it does is, for example, it just writes code. And that code is to do EDA, or to do some aspect of EDA. And then it can send that off to an analysis agent, and it can look at the outcomes of these EDA programs running and say, oh, can you go write another program to do this other thing? And then eventually they should collaboratively in a multi-agent framework arrive at a conclusion that's similar to what a team of statisticians might come at. So I think we're not too far from being there. I think the code generation that we're seeing from these models is getting better by the year, and so we should see a lot more of this pretty soon.
I think that sounds like a nice vision. You've got 10 seconds to go if you want to add something to it.
In 10 seconds, I think this is a very difficult question because I cannot think of an area within Web3 that cannot be improved by AI, to be honest. AI brings automation and efficiency to everything we do, from coding to marketing to go-to-market to building a community to product improvement. Everything can be AI'd, and we're here to build it. 10 seconds?
Yeah, that's a good closing words, I think. Thank you very much for participation. It was very interesting for me, at least. Hope for you as well. And thanks a lot.
Thank you.